Hi, welcome to Gender Nebulous. I'm Freda Wallace, and this is
Victoria Hodges.
again.
Again.
So, what have we been up to,
Oh,
Victoria?
God, we've had a busy weekend, haven't we?
Yeah, we've not stopped really, have we? We've been
Yeah.
gallivanting and being on the BBC.
So we were on the BBC on the Upload show on BBC Radio
You
Manchester.
see, normally BBC is a porn category, as far as I'm concerned, but in this instance, it was some serious business.
It wasn't that. It was David Scott's Upload show, and it was on yesterday evening at 6, and we had a little segment at 6:35 talking about Gender Nebulous podcast.
You know, I like to get on the BBC.
Yeah, I bet you do.
But
we didn't even get paid. I mean, what's up with that? You know,
we will eventually. That's the thing.
Yeah,
it's a trickle down economics.
Trickle down. It's not trickling down far enough.
So yeah, and then we went to Manchester, didn't we?
We did. You can explain that one because I'm not sure what it was.
Well,
but
we
it was
went
good.
to Slay, which is we call it an art event and a fetish party, and I did some spoken word performance.
You did. You had the megaphone out.
But it was so cold, wasn't it? I was like, oh God, because I like to strip off.
It was very cold in there. It was freezing.
Yeah, my plan. See, my part of my performance is I wear a wedding dress, and underneath I have like underwear, and I was supposed to strip off, but I can't do it because it's just too cold.
It was freezing in there. But it was. Yeah. I mean, it was an old warehouse. Well, it wasn't that old, but it was a warehouse.
It was an industrial unit.
Industrial unit, yeah. And so there was 4 acts. The first one was somebody just reading out some poetry, a couple of poems, which were really good. They were long, but they were good. Yeah. And then there was I'm not sure what it was called, but I'm not sure how to describe that, Freda.
Bondage. It was a bondage exhibition.
A bondage exhibition, yeah.
Yeah, it was a bondage kind of.
It's like Boy Scouts, but at a different level, I think.
Lots of tying up and teasing for as a kind of performance.
Yeah, it was all very tastefully done.
Yeah,
but it was good. I enjoyed that.
And then it was me.
And then we had Miss Freda Wallace on doing her poetry with her megaphone. What's the title of that poem?
Transgender, lesbian, sperm producing female.
Yeah, and it's very dramatic when you see it live with the megaphone. It's quite
But some of the feedback I got, interesting, was it was really sci-fi.
It was because it was kind of, you're getting a bit of feedback from the megaphone.
Yeah,
it was a bit kind of shaky, and there was a bit of it was good.
Because people were saying the way I moved reminded me of something like a sort of automaton.
I thought you were a Dalek.
Yeah. So and the sound of the megaphone has that kind of dystopian kind of Big Brother.
It did.
Do you know those?
And it was kind of reverberating, wasn't it? It was. I don't know what it was.
The room made it reverberate. So, and also the clicking of the metronome.
The metronome and the music in the background. What was that again?
It was the hymn to Saint Cecilia by Benjamin Britten.
Kind of slowed down and sounded all weird.
It was octavated 3 times.
It was
so you get this droning choral build up. The problem was I wanted it to go on a bit longer, but I don't know. I was conscious about the space and how much time I had to move in it. Because normally I would just walk around.
There was a lot of people kind of encroaching on where you were supposed to be walking.
Yeah, because I'm blindfolded.
You were a bit limited where you could walk, weren't you?
Yeah.
And you were blindfolded, of course.
Yeah. So I'm feeling my way around the room. I can see to a certain extent, but I can't see like normally.
Yeah.
So I have to be careful about where I'm going, but I couldn't do what I normally would because I mean, it's a good thing. There are a lot of people there. Do you know what I mean? So it's hard to maneuver and obviously carry the megaphone and deliver and remember the words to the poem.
I mean, trying to remember it. It was pretty long. I don't know how you do that, but well done.
Yeah.
And then the fourth act was
Who Are You? She's called. Well, Stephanie.
Stephanie, yeah, that was good.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, and the atmosphere is very good. Lots of
It was very,
very
queer.
diverse crowd. Loves the lovely tender queers.
Yeah,
and bondage people and goths.
They had a non-alcoholic bar. It was
that was a shame.
No, I mean, you probably can't afford to get the license, but it was good.
Well, usually they do have a license,
do they?
So I'm not sure what happened.
I'm not sure how that works.
You see, people brought their own booze and put it in.
Well, they're probably not supposed to, but
Yeah, they put it in the apple juice.
But it was fun. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
It's a cheap night out, anyway.
It was. So the radio thing, that was good. I enjoyed doing that. Were you nervous?
David, I was a little bit because I'm aware that we're going into a very professional environment when we do.
I have to say, it was the way they kind of bring you in and take you out was really
because we're like, this is just so amateurish.
Yeah,
what we do.
we were sat there waiting to go on, and the producer comes on and says, "Right, you're on in 2 minutes," and then you're in, and then you do your bit and you're out. It's really
the BBC know what they're doing, don't they?
It was very slick.
And they were so lovely to us. That lady,
the producer lady,
Ali Colton, was it?
Yeah.
She was like really encouraging, and she was like really interested in what we were doing. And when we spoke to the presenter David, he asked us some really good questions. I thought that were, I don't know if we answered them.
I'm not sure we answered them as well as we could have, but we answered them. It was good.
And he asked us like what we do, what kind of topics we cover. We couldn't talk about quite a lot of what we cover because I think we cover some quite heavy stuff.
We're on the BBC, so you have to be careful.
So we can't talk about sex, and we can't talk because last week we talked quite a lot about relationships and sex, didn't we?
Well, I mean, I'm sure you can talk about that stuff on the BBC, but I guess have to be
not the way I do.
Has to be framed properly, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm just worried. I'm conscious now of people that might have listened to that and then have come over and listened to the podcast, and they're like, "Well, we want to know more about trans issues," and I'm just going on about, what I don't know.
Yeah,
but at the end, he seemed to like us, and that's the main thing.
Yeah, it was good. It was nice to go on the radio and have a chat about the podcast. Hopefully,
he asked me to do a poem live on BBC Radio Manchester, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, no, Freda froze up at that point. Yeah, I don't have one ready.
Well, I did have, but it's got swear words in it. So.
Swear words?
There's a few expletives in my poetry, so the ones that I've remembered have.
Right, so you're ready to get on with today's topic?
Yeah, let's crack on.
Let's crack on. Right, so I'll put us into small mode. 1 second. There we go. We've shrunk down. Beep. And let's bring in our topic screen.
We've got some topics.
Topic number 1 today is it's a sporting thing. We actually this morning we did a podcast with Kirsty Miller, which will be going out on Tuesday. So on the sporting,
she was lovely.
She was, wasn't she? It was really good. It was long, 2 hours.
Well, you know what? She can. We could have just stayed quiet for the whole 2 hours.
She can talk, and that's really good
because she knows her stuff.
Yeah, right? And the detail of what she was telling us is like, wow, how it just shows how long she's been studying and being interested in the topics of trans inclusion in sports.
And she did talk about she's going to put a website together or something, which I think is brilliant. I mean, I think she should go on more media things in the UK because, like, when I was on that thing with Sharon Davis on GB News, I wasn't really the person they should be speaking to. It should be somebody like Kirsty.
Yeah,
because
I'm not saying you were no good, but yeah, Kirsty.
No, but I'm not doing it.
You don't know. You don't have the knowledge that Kirsty has.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I went to Kirsty's Twitter to find out information to go on that program. So why not just go straight to the source?
So Kirsty against Sharon Davis would have been good.
Yeah, she wouldn't have lasted. I mean,
Sharon Davis would have been,
but Sharon Davis would never agree to that.
No, this is the thing. Yeah, it's like they only want to go up against either just the presenter or nobody who's going to challenge them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyway.
So this first story, is this the one about the...
Yeah, this is a bit of a strange thing, really. F1 drivers banned from supporting LGBTQ plus and minority groups in deeply unfair new rules. So Formula One drivers will now require written permission from the sport's governing body to make political, religious and personal statements, including pro-LGBTQ plus stances, in a move deemed deeply unfair. It follows Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel being among the Formula One stars who have used their platform to stand for human rights at races in recent seasons. During the 2021 Qatar Grand Prix, Hamilton wore a rainbow-coloured helmet in support of LGBTQ rights and condemned anti-gay laws in Saudi Arabia. I think also the other guy, Sebastian Vettel, wore a Same Love T-shirt.
Yeah, One Love.
One Love T-shirts.
Yeah,
actually, Same Love T-shirt it's called.
Is it?
So they've both done that. At locations where it's probably not that safe to do it.
What is it about this rainbow flag that upsets so many?
I don't know.
Because what it is to me, it's always about sponsorship, and it's always about securing. Like, there's certain countries they will have a lot of power over.
Well, I mean,
sport.
Qatar. I mean, I can understand why it's a problem there because we had the same thing with the World Cup, didn't we?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I understand that country, but I don't understand this policy when you apply it to, let's say, the British Grand Prix. Or, why would you not allow drivers to support human rights issues if they want to? If that's what their thing is, why not let them do it? I mean, it's not... If there's some advertiser saying you can't do that, well, screw that advertiser,
Well, it's hard to do that if the advertisers have a lot of power, you see, because they are the people that really... Like, say, I mean, it could go right to the top, this, because you look in especially in motorsport, the actual, the car company, whatever it is, whether it's Mercedes, and they might have a policy where they say, look, we don't want any. So if it comes from them,
well, I don't think it's coming from them. I think it's coming from the F1. Sport itself.
I would say that as far as they're concerned, the drivers, no matter how big a sports star they are employed by the motorsport, aren't they? So they have to. I suppose it's like being an employee of any other company. Like if I was to go public and start talking about where I work, I'd have to look at their social media policy.
Yeah, but the thing is, the company I work for, they often do things which are, LGBTQ plus, events like Pride events.
Yeah, but you work for Haribo.
I wish. They're not saying, when we went to the Trans in the City event, they sponsored that and their name's, blasted on everything. So, are you saying that they don't want to do that? F1 doesn't want to do that because that's a bit. That's a bit weird.
They do, but then you also get. It's always interesting, you see, because big companies, big banks, big financial institutions, they always do the pride thing, don't they? And they always and there are certain people who will say that's pink washing because they don't really support the communities. But when individuals like drivers in an F1, because one thing I was interested in this week was, do you know, in football, there are no there must be gay footballers out there. I'm talking soccer, right?
Yeah, there must be out.
But until you get footballers and sports people that are positively, it doesn't matter what colours you put on your car. It doesn't matter what colours you put on your strip. If you don't have if the organisation doesn't encourage people to be openly gay, then it means nothing to me, because there will be footballers out there that are gay that can't come out because of societal pressures, financial pressures, whatever they are on the, whatever it is, I don't know. It might be a personal thing. But if you can't, it's like this whole thing of like wearing the armbands with the pride flag on. If you can do all that, but if you don't have a culture where people can be, Like, if there was a gay racing driver, F1, and he would say, "Look, I'm gay." That would destroy this argument, because it's not about the colours you wear; it's about who you are.
Yeah, but when I'm at work, I can wear a rainbow lanyard. I
do that all the time.
I can do what I like. I can promote it.
I have a sticker on my bag. It says I've got these. I give them out like pronoun badges, because I encourage people to understand the importance of pronouns. So, like, when I go into hospitals, and I have got leaflets, and I've got information for people. I don't force it on anyone.
But it's a bit weird, though, isn't it? Because, for example, if I had to wear a helmet to do my job, I don't. I just sit at a keyboard. But if I had to wear a helmet and it had a rainbow flag on it, are they saying that I wouldn't be able to do that because it's not kind of approved by the company now? Is that what everyone's saying? I don't really understand why they're doing this.
My helmet's purple, so.
So it says the new policy, which will be implemented next season following an update to the International Sporting Code, ISC, will see drivers require written permission from the FIA to make political statements. They're saying
it's not a political statement,
those
though,
without
to be
prior
gay.
approval will now be in breach of the rules. So it's not.
Right.
Human rights are not political statements.
It's political. It's not political to be gay, to be trans, to be bisexual, to be queer, whatever it is. That is not the political thing. The political thing is when you make that an advertisement, because all slogans and all visual representation is a symbol of something. So, like, the pride flag is a symbol. Now, you can be gay and never involve yourself with that symbol. It doesn't matter. You could be completely out as gay, because there are. You'll see this on gender critical Twitter, where they'll say, "I am gay, but I don't agree with pride. I don't," and that's fine. That's a legitimate political decision to make. Mm-hmm. But when you start saying, "I want to shut down the people that want to express that," like, these people that say, "I'm gay, not queer," they don't necessarily just want to say that. They want to shut down the queer bit, and the T bit, and the trans bit. So if your political angle is, "Look, I'm gay, but I'm not interested in," fine. You have your platform. It's called conservatism. You sexually identify as a conservative. But if you're more open, you understand that we live in an intersectional community where people are on very, on a sliding scale of, bisexuality, transgender.
Identify as a conservative. That sounds like some weird thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, but that's what it is when people say, "I am not gay, I'm not queer, I'm gay." They're actually identifying with social conservatism. It's like, it goes back to that Stonewall thing of, when the riots happened in the 60s, there were gay men, gay people in lobby groups that said, "We don't associate with the people that are rioting. We don't associate with that. We are good people. We are the good people. They're the bad people." And what that did is it created this division of people that were disenfranchised, and they had no choice but to be on the street fighting for the rights, and the people that had some kind of political leverage to say, "We are gay, but we don't have to be drag queens, or we don't have to be." I suppose it was called. It wasn't codified in the same way then. This idea of queer and trans, that came later. It was like in the 60s, it was a mix of what were called street queens, hippies, which we probably, call queerness now. And there were drag queens, and they were visible people. So they were the ones that saw the brunt of the police brutality because they were visible and they were on the street. Whereas more privileged gay people in politics who didn't want that heat could distance themselves from it and say, "Look, we're conservative gay people. We're not part of this horrible movement that wants to destroy society and throw bricks at the police." But they had to throw bricks at the police because that was the only way they could stop them harassing them and setting fire to their clubs.
Yeah, well, I think I'm going to start wearing my rainbow dress and helmet at work just to make a point,
But see, my knowledge of this comes from Jane County's autobiography, because Jane County lived through that period. Jane County, like a punk, she's known for the punk era, but she grew up, she came of age in that 60s environment. So she talks about living in New York in that time. And she was saying the reason the police targeted people that looked different. They didn't care if they were gay or not necessarily. They were just weird-looking hippies, drag queens, and people that stood out, and the police would harass them.
Do you find it important, though, if you do watch a sport, do you find it important to see kind of rainbow flags and inclusive?
I think it's great. If I'm watching the football, it's like I love it when they take the knee. I love it because to me that's a symbol of inclusion, and also you've got to fight prejudice. Like there's a lot of negative energy in football. Like when I was growing up, and I knew a lot. Like where I'm at school,
there's a lot of homophobic chanting that goes on at football matches even today. It's like
exactly. But that's part of the culture. It's always has been racism and homophobia.
So any way to kind of stop that.
But
homophobic racism culture is a good thing. I mean,
traditionally,
I don't think everyone really suffers from that, but I think this is a really negative move they're doing.
Traditionally, the British press they enforce that attitude because it's misogynistic, and a lot of the British press is misogynistic, and people like Piers Morgan, who write completely from a misogynistic point of view, like to attach themselves to the idea of football. It's like, honestly, these people, because to me, football is a working class movement. And when I see people like Piers Morgan trying to attach themselves to that, it just makes me cringe so much.
Yeah, well, Premier League football is not grassroots anymore, is it?
No, it's a luxury hobby for, but I know what you're saying. That's why I like the ladies' football.
Yeah, it's more down to grassroots, yeah. So, second story today is Tory government to finally announce new law banning barbaric, torturous conversion therapy. So, the UK government is set to finally announce details of a long-promised conversion therapy ban, and it will be inclusive of trans people, reports suggest. The Tories first promised a conversion therapy ban in 2018 during Theresa May's tenure as Prime Minister, but Boris Johnson later opted to push ahead with a ban that only covered lesbian, gay and bisexual people.
Yeah, Boris Johnson was giving in to lobby group pressures there, wasn't he?
Yeah. So, it's interesting that this is now back on the table. And I think the timing of this is not coincidental because, after what we've just seen with the gender recognition reforms in Scotland, this is kind of announced the same week as the Tory government decides to block that. So it's kind of like, I think it's kind of like a distraction tactic. Let's announce some good news, news that people will like, at the same week as we're doing something bad,
Well, I'm just reading this now. It's interesting that they mentioned Theresa May, because I was watching, Laura Kuenssberg's show this morning.
Oh, yeah.
And she was talking to Nicola Sturgeon about the GRA, and she said the British government had exactly the same plan as Scotland under Theresa May's government.
Under Theresa May they did, yeah. And then when Boris came along, he changed it all.
Yeah, exactly. So it was only in recent years, in the last 5 or 6, that Westminster have gone against what Scotland were going to do, and they would have been united in that decision.
This is
it's
true.
It's
Tories,
the UK.
Yeah. So the Theresa May Tories would have gone along with this, exactly.
So Boris's influence there, and the people he's put in,
it's not just Boris, it's all the kind of right wing of the Conservative Party.
Yeah, but they're the people that he's empowered. He's empowered those people.
Yeah, he has.
And this is why it's linked to Brexit, because the same kind of narrow-minded, small-minded. I mean, when it comes down to it, if you look at what Dominic Cummings did, he was the one that advised Boris on who to put into power to achieve Brexit. Now, the knock-on effect of that is the people that wanted to achieve Brexit are some of the worst people that you want in government. And that's why we're at where we're at now.
Yeah.
So if say, Theresa May had gone on, or maybe there'd been a Corbyn government, I mean, God knows what have happened if there'd been a Corbyn government during COVID. You'd have got a massive right wing uprising against him, I think.
Yeah, but you remember last year when there was supposed to be a big conference in the UK, the Safe to Be Me conference, I think it was called.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was all canned because Boris did this U-turn on the conversion therapy ban.
It's not safe to be me.
And then all the LGBTQ organisations said, right, we're pulling out, and then the whole thing just collapsed.
Any forward-thinking politician now, I think, if you were somebody that had any ideas of social justice, you'd be listening to trans people now.
Yeah, it's such an easy win for them to just do what we want them to do, isn't it? It's like it's not going to cause any problems for anybody. You suddenly get, you could end this war as it's become.
But they don't want to end
it. They don't want to. They're just perpetuating it. You could solve all these problems that we're having with, the gender recognition reforms and all the other stuff that trans people need. The government could solve all this stuff so easily, and they just perpetuate it.
But we lean into the battle in a way because,
we're in defensive mode, aren't we? Because we feel as though our rights are being attacked, which they are.
Well, it's multi-layered, isn't it? Because it's not just a political thing; it's like a healthcare thing as well. So there is a lot of problems in the NHS, and there is a lot of underfunding to the NHS. So we see the sharp end of that because we are not seen as a priority whatsoever, and perhaps we're not.
It's a bigger issue, isn't it? The funding of the NHS.
But that is part of why because when we hear people say that we have some kind of privilege because we're trans, or we have some kind of leverage, it's like get to fuck. We have the least privilege based on being trans. We might have, I don't consider myself particularly hard done to. As a human being, I have, I'm quite comfortably off, and I don't have to worry about certain things. But I'm thinking about young trans people. I'm thinking about people that, by default, being trans doesn't give you there are people that think being trans gives you advantages. It's like, no, it's the opposite. Not. And being trans won't, these little battles that we get into on Twitter and things like that, they're part of a bigger story. And it's not just trans people that affect, it's any minority, anybody that feels marginalized can relate to, which is why we understand intersectionality of it. We're seeing what happens to the way that Black people are treated by the government. We see other minorities suffering the same kind of lobby group pressures. We see that now, I certainly do.
Yeah. An interesting snippet that, related to this story is that it's understood that Downing Street will oversee the crafting of the legislation rather than Kimmy Badenoch, Minister for Women and Equality. So that's a positive piece of news, I think.
Yeah.
In the application of this new law that they're trying to bring in. I certainly wouldn't want Kimmy Badenoch in charge of it.
Kimmy Badenoch is bought
she was doing everything
paid
she can
for.
To make it, inclusive of trans, but yet not somehow.
Everything I've read about Kimmy Badenoch leads me to believe that she will do anything to hold on to the position she has. Now, she knows she's got a leg up by doing these things, and fair enough. She's got an ambition to be whatever she wants to be, but she'll do it at the expense of us, which will come and bite her on the arse eventually.
Well, I think Rishi's a bit stupid to keep her in the government.
Oh, Rishi can't even wear a seatbelt.
He's not doing them any favours, is he?
Did you see Rishi not wearing his seatbelt?
He's been fined for not wearing his seatbelt, hasn't he?
I mean, come on.
Don't wear your seatbelt, you get a fine. Just because you're Prime Minister doesn't give you some kind of protection from not being fined.
You see, that story about the seatbelt, it's not really about seatbelts, is it? It's about privilege idea. It's about the idea of if you're going to drive around
in the back of his bulletproof car being driven around.
If you're going to
take his seatbelt off to do an interview
in a fully airbagged 4x4 driving around London doing WhatsApp videos.
I think he was in Lancashire actually, where he was driving around.
Wherever he is, I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't trust Rishi. he just looks like a 14-year-old schoolboy that's just been given the keys to the, bank.
The dungeon.
Whatever. He's from the same stock as Johnson, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think he's making a huge mistake keeping certain individuals in his cabinet. Anyway, that's not my business.
He'll do whatever it takes him to stay in power.
Whatever his overlords tell him to do, he'll do. Okay, next story.
The world won't change until I'm Prime Minister.
When's that going to be?
Well, we'll see.
Okay, shall we move on to our third story?
Hang on, give me a minute. Where are we up to?
We're up to Church of England. This is a strange one. So, Church of England apologises for treatment of LGBTQ plus people. We have not loved you as God loves you.
How does God love me?
Yeah, right. So let me just read the headlines for this one.
God's given up on me.
God's given up.
Yeah.
The Church of England has formally apologised for its historical hostile treatment of LGBTQ plus people. Bishops of the Church wrote a letter accepting its responsibilities for the homophobic abuse that the LGBTQ community faces on a daily basis. Now, I don't think homophobic covers the whole thing there. We've got transphobic, we've got lesbianphobic, it doesn't all come under homophobic. But anyway, yeah, carry on. We want to apologise for the ways in which the Church of England has treated LGBTQ plus people, both those who worship in our churches and those who do not, the statement read. The apology was written following the Church's refusal to allow the ordainment of same-sex marriages by members of the clergy after a briefing on Tuesday, the 17th of January. A suggested vote on allowing same-sex marriage during next month's General Synod came as a part of an ongoing campaign to instill acceptance of LGBTQ plus people within the church, named Living in Love and Faith. So, total hypocrisy here. They're saying, sorry, we've not loved you as God loves you. And then the next sentence is, oh, by the way, you can't have ordainment of same-sex marriages.
Well, the church has always meddled in people's sex lives, hasn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you can't apologise on one hand and then on the other hand say, yeah, we're not doing same-sex marriages. It's like how can you say that and then expect the apology to be genuine? It's just not. It's just hypocritical. They're saying that you can have a blessing, you can come to church and have a blessing, and blah blah blah. I say, where you can stick your blessing. You treat me the same as everybody else, or you don't. I mean, it's quite simple.
It must be hard for gay people or trans people who are religious, because I'm not. It doesn't really matter to me what the church thinks about anything. But the church have a lot. I mean, the Church of England, they have bishops and they have archbishops in the House of Lords.
Yeah.
And it just beggars belief
that discrimination, but it's kind of legalised discrimination, because I don't think it's included in the Equality Act. I think the Equality Act gives a bit of a get out for religions on this topic, which is not right. I mean, it is discrimination, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
If you are a religious LGBTQ plus person and you want to get married in the Church of England, you can't. You can have a blessing. Well, I don't want a blessing. I want to get married in the church, just like everybody else. Why can't I do that?
The thing is that there's a legal side of it, the legal marriage, which is, one thing, and then there's the religious side of it. So, I'm not a religious person, but if I wanted to marry, it would just be for me, it would just be a matter of law, where I would have the same rights as somebody that is.
Yeah, but you can't do that in a church.
Would I be able to marry another woman, and they would categorise me as male?
Well, yeah. I mean, you don't have a GRC, so you would be categorised as male, and theoretically, you should be able to marry a woman in a church based on that.
But I don't know. I don't want to marry a woman, and I don't. I don't know. It makes me think about would I ever want to get married? But I don't need the church
but this
or
is
any.
kind of like church kind of meddling with people's lives in this way,
Nobody's
and
gonna.
discriminating against people. This is not what the church should be doing.
Who's going to want to marry me? Apply within.
Apply with him. Is there a fee?
Well, you have to be rich and
have some money. Yeah.
Connected to the government to get me in power, so I can eventually overthrow everything. I said, if I was in charge, every baby born would be gender neutral, and you could apply for a gender when you're old enough, and you can decide whatever you want to be, and then you get free surgeries on the NHS. So you could just modify your body however you want,
and you can marry who you want to marry in church.
Yeah, and then whatever you want to do. Yeah. That's my policy. They're my policies. Whatever you want.
I think we need to have a careful examination of all of your policies before you become Prime Minister. Actually, yeah, we could do that as a future podcast, couldn't we? Freda's manifesto.
Burn the baronesses.
I think I would ban all baronesses, especially
ban the baronesses.
Ones. I might keep the nice ones.
There are no nice ones.
I think there are. We can't say that.
No,
I think there are some nice ones.
No. If you're going to accept a title like that, you've got problems.
I've not been offered yet. I'm still waiting.
Although, to be honest, if somebody offered me Baroness Freda,
you'd take it. You'd take it in a flash, in a heartbeat. Yeah.
But I'd do something good with it. I won't be like ringing. I won't be writing to the Tate Gallery to tell them to stop hosting drag queens.
Oh God, yeah. Was that Baroness Nicholson?
I'd be writing to the Tate Gallery to start hosting more.
Was that Nicholson again?
Yeah, Baroness Nicholson.
Yeah.
J.K. Rowling's little minion.
She got nothing better to do.
No, that's what these people do. They spend all day moping around the massive houses, looking at people's lives that can make more miserable.
Yeah, let's interfere in people's lives.
Let's stop art happening. Let's write to the Tate Gallery and make everybody's lives a bit more grey and boring. Get to fuck, stupid baronesses.
This next story is quite an interesting one, bit of a turnaround story, I think. So this is Dame Kelly Holmes, who we bumped into in the National Diversity Award thing we were at last year.
Yeah,
she was there getting an award, and we saw her. We didn't speak to her, but we saw her. We kind of brushed shoulders with her backstage, didn't we? As we were swept past them.
We did, yeah.
Now what she's saying now is, she's totally in support of her trans siblings, and I've been ignorant in the past about the fight of the trans community, and I want to see fair and conclusive outcome for those whose gender differs from that assigned at birth. In all walks of life, including sport. So, I mean, it's a bit of a 180, this, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. I think she initially probably got influenced by some bad science or bad, stuff she was seeing online, and she's made the right decision here because what tends to happen is when people venture opinions on social media, they get, people like us rightly call them out and say, look, you're making a mistake here. And then some people, like Sharon Davis, they go completely the other way. They go, you can't tell me what to think, blah, blah, blah. And rather than listening to the people that might be hurt by the words or, negatively affected by the rhetoric, they throw in with another group of people that are willing to pay for their opinions. And good on Kelly for not doing that,
So just a bit more from the statement. As a former international athlete, a gay woman, and now openly a member of the LGBTQIA community, I want to first say I totally support my trans siblings. I have been ignorant in the past about the fight of the trans community, and now I want to see fair and conclusive outcomes for those whose gender differs from that assigned at birth in all walks of life, including sport. Firstly, I do not believe in a blanket approach. A more nuanced approach of looking at the individual person, sport and level is a much better way of keeping sport fair. Now that last bit kind of ties into what we were discussing with Kirsty this morning.
Yeah.
Around having, it should shouldn't be nothing should be blanket bans or whatever. It should be all based on individual risk assessment. I mean, yeah, and I definitely agree with that bit.
Well, she's doing the right thing, and I think it's commendable. And like when we saw her at the National Diversity Awards, we were like, "What's she doing here?"
Yeah,
we're a bit sort of aggressively get her out, kick her out.
We were protective of ourselves, weren't we, at that point?
Yeah, but I think if somebody is genuinely, it actually is quite courageous to say, "Look, I was wrong."
Yeah.
To say, because I've done that. I've said things and I regret things I've said. And if somebody says, "Look, you should have said it this way," I say, "Look, you know what? Now you've got a choice, haven't you? You can either go get lost, get all defensive, or you can go, you know what? Maybe I was wrong."
If somebody has the guts to say, "Yeah, I was wrong, and I'm making amends," I'm totally on board with that.
It's not really about. I don't think it's making amends.
Well, she's apologising, and at the same time she's explaining why, which I think that's great.
Yeah, but the thing is that you have to go a step further with it and educate others. Like, it's okay to say, like, why doesn't she contact Sharon Davis and say, "Look, this is what I've learned. Why can't you do that?"
Hopefully she does. I mean, that would be great if she did.
You know what I mean? That'd be good, wouldn't it? If she contacts J.K. Rowling and says, "Why are you being horrible to the trannies?"
Well, she must know Sharon Davis. Maybe she can influence Sharon Davis in some way. Talk to her and explain.
I would love to have a conversation with somebody like that and just have an honest discussion and say, "Look, this is how it makes us feel." I'm not even a sporting person.
Yeah. So this story was featured in Diva magazine, and
I love Diva magazine.
Bobby Pickard, CEO of Trans in the City, she'd made a statement about it too. So Bobby Pickard, the CEO of Trans in the City, shared that Dame Kelly Holmes has been on a huge learning curve about the trans community since coming out last year. It is so positive to see that through the help of the LGBTQIA community, she now is beginning to understand the truth about trans and non-binary people and is turning into a real ally for us. I look forward to seeing her allyship go from strength to strength. So that, that's a really positive statement coming from Bobby.
And Bobby's always
totally
good.
Agree with that. Bobby's great.
Yeah, and I think it's all good. Like, it's good that she's actually made this statement because she didn't have to.
No, but I think Bobby had said in the past that we shouldn't be platforming people, like Dame Kelly, because of her views. But now it's kind of all changed, and that's great.
A lot of our discourse online tends to go towards, like when we call people out and it's people think we're shutting them down and trying cancelling them. We're not. We want them to talk more. We don't want to cancel anybody. We want them to actually address the thing they're actually saying.
Yeah, because I'm looking forward to the day when the Wizard Lady does the same thing.
I don't think it's ever going to happen with the Wizard Lady.
But I'm looking forward to it anyway.
No. I wouldn't hope for that because I'm pretty sure everybody knows who we're talking about when we say the Wizard Lady. Because that's us being really polite.
Yeah. Well, that's what we decided to call her when we started this podcast.
Yeah, because we didn't want to keep mentioning her name. But the thing with that is, like, she's protected, isn't she, by the media by taking the stance she has. Because a lot of the British press, they actually absolutely adore her for this. So it's become like a sort of way for her to be protected by the right-wing media.
But it would be nice to see some of these people who have been really kind of negative towards trans people to start seeing the light and understanding why what they've been saying is not right.
Yeah,
it would be nice to see that change. I don't know how it comes about, but
I don't know about seeing the light, but I mean, have that conversation. Getting
a better understanding of it. I think most of the time these people are just ignorant and they just play on this kind of right-wing nonsense that goes on.
Another problem is there's not enough prominent trans voices on that level to take somebody like, Kelly Holmes on. Like it's all right me going on GB News or Talk TV and having a little rant to. But I'm not addressing the people that are making decisions, am I? They can make those, they can influence. Like if you're an Olympic athlete, if you're somebody that has that kind of influence, you can really change things.
Yeah, like Kirsty Miller. I mean, she's well known. She's she's trans. She's making a big difference. That's good.
Yeah. Can we talk about this young British YouTuber? Is that the next one?
The next story is Trans Pride Brighton.
Oh right, yeah, I forgot about that.
So yeah, the dates have been. I think it's the same weekend every year. So this is going to be 14th, 16th of July, 2023.
Get your tickets.
Trans Pride Brighton. Get your tickets. Well, you don't need tickets. You just need to get your accommodation.
You don't have to pay. You don't have to pay for the event. No.
The only thing you have to pay for is like the after party. I think you have to pay for that. It's not much. It's not.
Is that in the hotel?
It's in a nightclub. It was on the front last year.
Oh, right. That's quite
good. I mean, it's like it went all night. Pretty much. It was pretty good.
Any fit lads there?
Oh dear, I don't know how to answer that. So
that's a no.
So yeah, I'm definitely going to be going. I went with Jess and Nooms last year. We had an Airbnb. So yeah.
Did you know?
We did. It was really good. It was great. The weather was so hot last year. It was unbearable. But
oh my god, yeah. It's was it like 40 degrees in the shade?
It was.
I remember buying an ice cream in Manchester and it melted before I could lick it.
It was still. It was pretty close to when we went to Sparkle, Manchester, wasn't it? I think it was a couple of weeks before or after that.
Yeah, and I collapsed. I fell asleep in a deck chair.
Yeah, you were drunk. You've been drinking pina coladas all afternoon or something.
I went out to go and find a friend of mine, and they wouldn't let me back in because I thought I was too drunk. But I wasn't. It was heat exhaustion.
Heat exhaustion. That's what we're putting down to. That was the weekend we met Ginny Lemon, wasn't it?
Yeah, Ginny Lemon.
That was fun.
She did a good show.
She did. So yeah, Freda, get it in your calendar.
I will. Well, if I can get a hotel.
Pride,
what's the day? I'll write it down now.
It's on the screen there.
I'm writing it. I'm writing it with my Taylor Swift hand. Look.
14th to 16th of July, 2023.
There we go, booked. Come and meet us. Yeah. Maybe we can do a Gender Nebulous live podcast from Brighton.
From the basement of our hotel. Yeah. So that, yeah. I mean, then the next story was, we've already spoken about it. It was the upload on BBC Radio Manchester. This is the thing.
That was great. Yeah.
Appearance. So there's David Scott. It was great. I really enjoyed it.
He's a lovely man. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's available on the BBC Sounds app, I think. Is that right?
David Scott does a lot of work with Manchester Pride, and he's done he's like.
Yeah, I don't know much about David.
Yeah, he's done like charity fundraising around Manchester for that, and he's involved with a lot of local community groups. He's just a good all round. I think he's a spoken word artist as well, like me.
So, I mean, Upload promotes local bands, local podcasters.
Any local talent. He said you were from Bolton, though.
He said I was from Bolton. Well, he must have based that on what you told him.
Yeah. No, I just said I was from Bolton.
So he just assumed we're both from Bolton.
Well, I'm from Farnworth, so.
Well, I'm not. Don't know where I'm from. I guess I'm from Stockport.
Well, technically, I'm from Saturn.
Saturn. Okay.
Yeah. One of the moons of Saturn.
Where did you leave your spaceship?
Buried in the garden.
Is that why you wouldn't let me in the shed last night? Because you got your alien equipment in there. Is that
I'm from the same place as Sun Ra. Sun Ra is. Anyway, so
moving on then.
Do you know what? It was really nice being on the radio.
It was. I was nervous, but
hopefully it will lead to some more radioing, more radioing TV inclusion.
Yes. Yeah. So now we can move on to the Charlie McDonnell story.
Oh yeah, I love this story.
This is a really nice story.
So Charlie was quite a popular YouTuber. Well, she still is.
Yeah, I'll just read out the headlines here. So, British YouTuber Charlie McDonnell, also known as Charlie is so cool like, has returned to the platform for the first time since coming out as trans. Charlie scrubbed their channel of all its content after stepping back from the public eye a few years ago, before later coming out publicly as trans in October 2022. However, she made a surprise return to YouTube on Thursday this week.
She's on Twitter.
Yeah, with a reintroduction question and answer video.
We should get her on the podcast.
We should. Charlie confirmed that she goes by she, they pronouns and that she began hormone treatment therapy 4 months ago. She added that her first name is Charlie, which she plans to formalise legally. So this was a really, I mean, if you look at the episode, the thing the video she's put on YouTube, it's like a Q&A around, everything that's been going on with her life. And this was a really good learning experience for me because I learned how to do chapters in YouTube videos. So from now on, we're going to have chapters in our YouTube videos for you.
Very technical.
Very technical. It's really handy to have as well, because you can tweet the chapter or give someone the link to the bit that you want them to watch. So it's really good. And this story is so nice because if you watch that video, you'll see what I mean. She's such a nice person. I think she's a gamer. That's how.
You're a Twitcher.
Twitch. Yeah, that's how they became.
Yeah, that's not a word I've really got. I got invited to a Twitch thing the other night by a trans lady who wants to do a Twitch thing, but I've no idea how to do Twitch.
Well,
do you?
You just watch. I mean, you just watch somebody else playing a game, and you can.
No, but they wanted me to play a game live with them.
Oh, you had to play the game whilst it was being Twitched.
I'd like to do it, yeah. But I used to do a lot of game. I used to, a long time ago. I like Commodore Amiga.
Yeah, so Jess and Nooms, my friends in Scotland, they're involved with something called Diversity Inclusive Gaming.
That sounds good.
So the gaming they do is normally Xbox or PC gaming, and it's streamed onto Twitch. It's kind of like a weekly thing. At the moment, we're doing Dungeons and Dragons. But that's a lot of fun.
No, I want to get into it because it seems like the worlds of gaming and trans people seem to go together. I don't know.
Well, yeah, nerds are us.
Maybe something to do with that neurodivergent thing.
Exactly. But yeah, I thought that was a good news. Great story.
Great story, and I'm following her now on Twitter.
Yeah,
and I've asked her to come on the podcast.
Yeah, she can come on anytime.
But she's got 400,000 followers, so I don't know if she'll reply.
Yeah, we may be small fry.
I'll link her to this though, about this little bit where we talked about.
Yeah, it was really good.
So
you wanted to talk about Owen Jones' video?
Yeah, Owen Jones did a really good video this week. It was on the back of the conversations in the media about the Gender Recognition Act and the gender recognition reforms in Scotland. And I think he noticed there was a lot of different disinformation, misinformation going out. And he did this really good video where he just broke it down, and he talked about the way that gay men were described in the 70s and 80s as being threats to society, and they didn't want to teach the idea of being gay in schools, and people portray gay men as a sexual threat to young people and all this. And then he just went straight from that to trans, and he bridged that, and he showed you pretty clearly how the same arguments are being used against trans people now, and it is really good how because the thing with Owen Jones is he's very succinct and he's very straightforward the way he puts things across.
Yeah,
and there was no umming and ahhing. It was just straight in there with and he exposed the lies of a lot of these lobby groups. So I thought that was a really good thing for him to do because he's got a huge platform. He's got a few million followers
on YouTube and on Twitter, I think.
Yeah, and it shouldn't really take someone like that to make people see the truth of it, but it
No,
does
but
because
he's a great ally for trans and non-binary people.
yeah, and that's why people like Julie Bindel hate him and call him a misogynist.
He's really hated by some of the big
yeah,
gender critics,
you can really trace his influence by who hates him.
Yeah.
Because people that are venomously anti somebody have probably got, they've got a really good reason for being that.
Yeah.
And the reason they are that way is because he does speak a lot of truth.
Yeah. So what I'll do, I'll put a link to his YouTube video in the notes.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really good because it was quite emotional actually listening to it because I was thinking, gosh, this is everything I've been trying to communicate
I'll
for the
watch
last
it. I've not
couple
watched
of
it.
years.
I keep meaning to watch it. It's about 25 minutes long, isn't it?
No, it's like because I like when I've been going on the telly and on the radio to talk about trans issues.
Yeah, so it's the same issues probably.
I've been like thinking, God, I wish I'd have heard this.
Yeah.
Before I'd have because it made it so clear, so crystal. The points he hits are like straight in, and it's hard. I think it's hard for us to see it because we're in the middle of it. But when you see it from a sort of,
you take a step backwards.
Yeah, when you see it from a bigger picture and you see the timeline of abuse and hate, it's the thing. Like it touches a bit on what Peter. Do you know the Peter Tatchell thing?
Yeah.
The thing he's fighting for is basically the freedom of expression. He's obviously he's a gay man and he's coming at it from that point of view. But the same people that hate gay people hate trans people.
Well, I watched a video of Peter Tatchell's this week where he was. I think it was GB News and he was up against Posey Parker.
Oh God!
But I don't know how Peter does it, but he manages to keep his cool. And he manages to get his point over without, any kind of reaction to the horrible things that the other person's saying.
Well,
he sticks to his message, and he has a really clear way of defining it. I think that's part of his success, his ability to be able to explain what he's saying in that really clear way. It's really good.
People have pulled him up on a couple of blind spots about, non-binary people, but I think that's a minor. I mean, it's important to mention, but in the bigger picture, I think he's doing the right thing.
Yeah,
but I've tried. I've been in touch with Kevin O'Sullivan. I've been in touch with a couple of producers at Talk TV, and I've said, when Kelly J. Keane is on, please call me because I want to have that conversation with her.
I just wonder how much these people like Posey Parker, how much sway they have with these producers as to who they go up against.
They have a lot,
They
because
must have some kind of, I'm not going up against anybody, I'm going to pick and choose who I'm.
Oh, yeah, because she's a regular.
Yeah.
She's a regular guest, and she's from the lobby groups that promote that kind of thing. So, you see, I don't have any financial backing. I don't have anybody pushing my agenda. I'm just a simple voice.
Yeah, they always put you up against Susan Smith. Susan Smith is your regular opponent.
But they don't like it, you see, because, to anybody with any critical faculties watching that, they know they don't come off well.
No, she didn't come off well in the last one you did. That's for sure.
I've got to be careful, though, when I go on things like that I don't become personally defensive, which is something quite difficult because, they are attacking me. They might not say that, but they are attacking who I am.
Yeah, watch that. Watch that Peter Tatchell.
I will, yeah. But you know what? I try and avoid watching anything with Kelly Keane in it because it just honestly would drive me mad. It was
very frustrating to watch it, but I think that's what made Peter look even better.
Kelly Keane does this thing on a YouTube channel called Turf Talk Tuesday.
Yeah, that's why we do Trans Talk Thursday.
So I was going to try and do a covert call and try and ring in and pretend to be a TERF.
You just let the cat out of the bag, I think.
Well, no, nobody's going to. She's not watching this. So might. I was going to do it and ring in and then get her on there. I'm going to do that. I'm going to get her.
Yeah.
But it's not about getting her. It's about understanding that the fact that nothing she says has any value, apart from to her own little gaggle of hate mongers. Which the attack dogs.
Yeah, well, we're doing Trans Talk Thursdays. So
have we got a nice positive story to end on? I suppose it was the Owen Jones one, really, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, Freda's gig was going to be the last one, but we've already spoken about that. So.
Oh no, we've not spoken enough about that.
Okay, well let's carry on then, Freda. Tell us about your gig.
No, we've spoken about that, but it was really good. It was nice atmosphere. Thank you for driving me around and
no, it's fine.
Getting me into my wedding dress.
So there's another gig coming up next weekend. Do you want to just explain that one?
Oh, I'm not doing a gig.
No, but we're going to a thing.
It's called Tranuary. In Manchester, yeah. So it's like a little festival, all-day festival at Soup Kitchen in Manchester. And there's a few drag acts on, and there's a few workshops, poetry, and, like inclusivity events. And it's all based in Manchester City Centre. So that's Tranuary. You could probably find... If you just search...
Is it just next Saturday?
Just Saturday, yeah.
One day, yeah. Right.
And, there's a daytime event. And then there's a club night after.
So there's like workshops and things that you can do during the day, and then
So the club night will probably get a bit wild.
An event at the evening, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that. It should be good.
So yeah, if you fancy letting your hair down and come in doing some art therapy and poetry, come down to Soup Kitchen. The art stuff and the poetry will be during the day. And then there'll be a bit of a break, and then they'll have the club night from about 7, I think.
So what are you going to during the day then?
I'm going to the poetry workshop.
So you're going to brush up on your poetry skills?
Yeah, I'm going to try and perform something. And then I'll be doing some of the art stuff, and then I'll get changed, get into my nighttime attire.
Your nighttime attire? Oh.
Yeah.
I think we'll leave it there, right?
I'll be drawing my eyebrows on even higher.
Oh dear.
Hopefully there'll be some fit lads there.
Right. Well, that concludes our Sunday afternoon show.
Oh, so soon. Gosh.
Yeah, I know. It's been
anyway. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
And don't forget to subscribe.
Don't forget to like.
Can we sing it in harmony? Don't forget to subscribe.
If you want.
Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Don't forget to subscribe.
That was wrong. We need to practice, obviously. Yeah.
Okay.
We probably need some music to do it. Anyway, yeah. So thanks for watching. We will be back on Thursday. We don't have a topic yet, but we'll come up with one before then.
Yeah.
And we've got a special podcast coming out Tuesday, which is the interview with Kirsty Miller about trans inclusion in sport.
Oh, so good.
And debunking Sharon Davis's comments.
You don't want to miss that.
You don't want to miss it. It's good. It's really good. It's 2 hours long. It's 2 hours long, but it's good.
And in the meantime, we'll practice our vocal harmonies.
Well, we'll try to practice, yeah.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Okay. Time to say bye-bye. See you later.